All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. My name's Kristen. I live in Gainesville, Florida, and I do these classes that I call nervous system self-care a couple times a month, the first and third Thursdays of the month, because I feel like we all need ways these days to help resource ourselves for safety and for better nervous system regulation, regardless of whether we're healing from trauma or we're just dealing with present moment stress. A lot of us are doing both all the time. And one of the biggest resources that we have in our healing and in our dealing is our own body. But it's really useful to know some ways to tap into the resources of our body. And there's all sorts of ways to do it. They're very simple and they can often be done in just a few minutes. And I find that it's really nice to do some of these together, which is why I like getting together as a group to share these with you. Everything that I offer is an invitation. I'm inviting you to try these practices out with me and to see how they land for you today, to try them out and see how they fit for your system and your body. And that having been said, if there's anything about what I'm suggesting or that we're doing that doesn't feel right in any way, that your body feels hesitant around, or if you're getting some internal sense of like, this is too much, or this is too fast, or this isn't right, then I want to support you in listening to that. Whatever messages your body is sending you about what's needed or not needed right now is far more important and valid than whatever it is I'm suggesting, because you're the one living in your body and your system in this present moment, and not me. So please give yourself permission to trust that. And what I'm offering in these classes is by and large very gentle. They're practices that are designed, intended to settle and soothe as opposed to elicit or evoke. So they're typically, they don't tend to be triggering or activating. That having been said, we're all coming from different places with different histories and change from one day to the other. So it's always important to listen to what our body is saying in the moment and to follow that. What else? Today I made a post on Instagram that was about our tendency sometimes to fixate on figuring things out, where our mind gets really busy and stuck on like ruminating and mulling over a problem over and over and over again without going anywhere and just causing us more stress, and how that can actually be a survival response. And so I thought we'd do a few practices today that I find particularly helpful and supportive for when my mind is feeling really busy and stuck in the business and stuck in that kind of freeze state of like running in place, but not being able to get anywhere. Anything that we do with resourcing the body can be really great for helping us get out of our head and into our feeling sense, but we'll offer a few things today that, like I said, I find particularly helpful for that. And we're going to start by just checking in with ourselves, which is the way we always start this practice, with a gentle attunement to just see where we are and how we're showing up right now. And there's no real wrong way to do this. You can have your eyes open or your eyes closed, but the invitation is just to gently turn toward your present moment, feeling, experience, and just to notice, kind of dropping in the question, how am I right now in this present moment? How am I mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, all of the above, or anything I left out? Just gently kind of touching the surface of our experience and seeing where we're at right now. And in this process of pausing and noticing, we're supporting our nervous system regulation and bringing a little bit more of our prefrontal cortex online, not to think about and figure out what we're feeling, but to like bring awareness to the sensation and experience that we're having. And if we want, we can go one step further than noticing, and we might want to name what it is we're noticing about our present moment experience. So again, not trying to analyze or to figure this out, but just as you're noticing what's here for you right now, there may be a word or two or a phrase that kind of drops in to sum up or encapsulate like where you're at, how you are right now. And if it does, then you can name what it is you're noticing. And if you're here with me live and you feel like sharing in the chat what it is you're naming and noticing about how you're showing up, then I invite you to do that. No obligation at all. And it can be nice just to know where other people are, right? We're all coming from different places, both locationally, geographically, and mentally, emotionally. And there's no wrong way to show up to a practice like this. I see terror, the word terror. Thank you for sharing that. Noticing that kind of intensity. Yeah. I also see light and calm and connected. Yeah, so already we've got a range of experiences here. One's not inherently better or more worthy than the other, right? This is a practice of showing up and being with our felt sense experience, however it is, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Yeah, if it's pleasant, then that may feel like something that we can rest into a little bit more, and we may want to do that. If it's unpleasant, it's okay to just touch the surface of it and to not force ourselves to like focus on that or go deep into that. Totally okay. I also see dysregulated, unsafe, and stuck in shock. Yeah. I see calm in my body, but nervousness in my head. Yeah, so sometimes we can sense into more than one experience. Our experience is not homogeneous, right? We can have sense something in us that feels calm and something in us that feels nervous at the same time. And that's valid. So we're just noticing. And we're bringing whatever it is we're noticing kind of into the practice. This is what we're offering this gentle practice for. So the way I like to think about it, if that feels good to you, then you can see that as an offering as well. All right, if you want, hold that with you. We can also kind of put it to the side, like we're just sitting with it. Yeah. And the first practice that we're going to do, we're going to make some contact with our hands and our fingers. The hands can be a great place to resource on our body because there are so many nervous tissue endings, nerve endings in our hands and also in our feet, but our hands are closer and easier to access at most times. And there's a contact that we can do that touches into reflexes for our thinking brain, for the prefrontal cortex, and can kind of have the effect of like softening and soothing a little bit of like busyness and activity. Not to like totally take away all our thoughts, not to make everything super smooth, right? But just to like bring a little bit of softness and ease. And so we're going to do this on one hand and then we'll do it on the other. And I'll hold my hands up so you can see what I'm doing, but you don't have to hold your hands up. You can let them rest in your lap or on a desk in front of you or wherever you are. And what we're going to do is with one hand, I'm going to take my thumb and my index finger and my middle finger, and I'm going to let these three fingers contact the tip of the pinky finger on the other hand. So my index finger is going to gently make contact with the nail, and my thumb and my middle finger are going to make contact with the sides of the fingers. So there's no contact on the palmar side or the pad of my finger. It's just on the other four sides. And what I'm going to do is to gently kind of bend my fingers and press in, like applying just a little bit of pressure. And then I'll lighten up and scoot forward a little bit. So it's like this kind of inchworm motion. where I'm just kind of inching my way along these three surfaces of the finger, slowly until I get to the knuckle. And then I'm going to drag my fingers off the end. And again, this is gentle. We're not trying to like super squeeze the fingers. And then I'm going to move to the next finger. So my ring finger, same thing, index finger on top, thumb and middle finger on side. So no contact on the pad of the finger or the underside. And we're just going to do the same thing. Just gently, slowly inchworming along in little steps. You can have your eyes open or closed as you're doing this, or you can alternate between the two, just depending on what feels right and best. And then I'm going to drag off the end and then switch to the next finger, middle finger. It might also feel good for you to look at the contact you're making, just like I am from one hand to the other. Once you also have a felt sense of what you're doing, you could let your eyes just gaze softly somewhere else nearby or in front of you, and that would be okay too. Dragging off the end. And now we're at the index finger. Same thing. Moving along with this 3-finger contact. All the way down to the knuckle before we drag the fingers off the end. And then we'll go to the thumb. Same thing. Same hand. And then dragging to the end. And now we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. And as you do that with me, you may begin to just gently check in with anything else you're noticing in your system or in your body. What I started to notice was that I just had taken a couple deeper, spontaneous breaths. So something about my breath pattern was changing a little bit in a way that felt a little more easy. It didn't feel uneasy before, but it's like, oh, a breath, and oh, another breath. So maybe you notice something like that too. If you're not, it's not that you're doing it wrong. It's just that you have a different body than I do. Dragging off the end. I'm on the middle finger now. Again, just slowly, gently inchworming our way along with this contact. You may also want to feel the surfaces that are supporting the rest of your body, just noticing your bottom or your thighs in the chair or your feet on the floor, noticing the ground beneath you. And then maybe bringing your awareness back to the sensation of your fingers touching your other finger and hand. And then dragging out there. And now we're on the thumb. And just letting ourselves go at the same pace until we reach that knuckle and dragging off the end. Letting that go and pausing for just a moment before we move on to another contact. And I'm seeing in the chat a comment about feeling a little calmer, but compelled to get sucked into the panic. Yeah, that's real. That's valid. So if it feels okay to notice the little bit calmer, right? Because most of the time we don't move from panic or terror, shock, straight to like, ooh, everything feels good and okay. It's like this kind of jerky, janky, like a little bit softer and then back to where I was sometimes, or a little bit calmer, easier, and then like something else starts to kind of like spin us back in. And it can help to know that that can be a normal part of the process. And what we're doing is offering our system small ways, safe ways in small amounts to experience a little more ease right? This is how we support changes in the nervous system, not by shocking it into being calm, because it may already be in shock, right? But just offering some gentle softness to meet it where it's at and to say, can we make this a little bit easier? Yeah. So now we're going to do just a few contacts, self-hold contacts around the area of our head. When we're busy thinking and ruminating, most people, if you ask them where in their body they experience thinking, they'll point to their head or somewhere up here, right? This is like where we tend to experience the sensation of thinking and fixating and figuring. So there are lots of ways we can make contact with our head that may feel good to bring a sense of more groundedness or more organization and softness to whatever activity may be happening. So I'll suggest a few and you can try them out with me if you like. The first one, I'm going to invite you to clasp your hands together and we're just going to rest them on the top of our head, kind of on the crown of the head. And you can experiment with like where on the crown or the top feels good. It may feel good to be a little bit toward the back. For me, it feels good right now to kind of be right on top. And the nice thing about having the hands in this kind of self-hold position is we can let gravity support us in the hold. So see you can see what it's like to not have to hold your hands here, but to just allow your clasped hands to rest and kind of drop in gravity as they're applying gentle, broad pressure to the top of your body. You can absolutely adjust the pressure so we're not trying to like force or squeeze or compress ourselves down. But we're just bringing like a little more solidity to this aspect of our experience that can feel kind of airy and scattered a lot of the time. And I notice for me, as I have my hands here, then something through my core starts to feel a little more present, like a little more solid, a little more embodied. Being in this position also can help release the diaphragm a little bit and open up the rib cage to allow us to naturally have a little bit more expansive breath. You may feel that, and you don't have to force your breath to expand. Just notice if this feels supportive in any way. This also makes me aware of how sometimes when we really get in our head, it's almost like we can travel like up and out of our body a little bit. And so having the hands in this position, sometimes I think about it as like, I'm just keeping me in me, right? As opposed to this tendency to like pop out up here. It's like, oh no, Kristen, you can just stay right here. It's okay to stay right here, just right now. And then if you like, you can try moving the clasped hands to the back of your head. And this can be like in the middle of the back of your head, like right behind your eyes. That may feel good. Or it can be more toward like base of your head, nape of your neck. And again, see if it's possible and see if your body likes anything about letting this hold support you in gravity. So we don't have to be leaning back, way back, right? But what I notice when I have my hands here clasped is I can let my head and neck fall back into my hands a little bit more. as opposed to having to effort in any way to keep my head and neck upright. And something about that can feel relieving. Sending our system the message that maybe we don't have to work so hard. Maybe we don't have to effort so much and we could still be safe enough right in this moment. I notice another breath for myself there. You can notice your breath. You can notice the surfaces supporting you. You can also take note of whether your eyes are open or closed and see if you want to adjust that. If your eyes are open, you don't have to be looking at the screen. You can let them be soft in front of you, or you can let your eyes gently, softly, just kind of wander and observe around you. Not frantically darting from thing to thing, but just softly taking in. And then when you're ready, you can let your hands unclasp, bring your arms down, hands down, let blood start to flow in a little bit different way now that your hands aren't above your head. Wiggle or adjust the rest of your body if you want or need to. And then the next hold that I'll offer, still using both of our hands, but we're going to make a contact toward the front of our head. And so we were on the top, we were on the back, and now we're going to be toward the front of the forehead. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. I'm going to take my glasses off so I can show you. One is that we could use our palms to kind of cup around our eyes so that the bony part of our palm is kind of covering the bony orbit of our eye, and then where our palm is curved is kind of over the eye. So we're not digging our palm into the eye, and we're not intending to apply pressure to the eyeball, but we're cupping and resting the hands over the eyes with the fingers coming on the forehead. That may or may not feel good or right to have the eyes closed. Of course, you can have your eyes open or closed behind your hands. But another alternative is just to have your palms above your forehead. So to have this part of your palm at the base of your hand, kind of touching where your brows are, and then having the hands cup over your forehead. So either like this or like this. And we can do either of these holds as we're sitting upright, or if you have a surface in front of you, then you might want to let your elbows be supported on a surface like a desk, and then to gently let gravity support you in this hold, letting your head and your neck come forward as your hands, palms, fingers just provide a gentle cupped contact of rest right here. Noticing what that's like, either with eyes open or closed, either on the forehead or cupping around the eyes if that feels good and soothing. If it doesn't, don't force yourself to do it. There's no need to push or force anything when we're doing practices like these. And if neither of these feel good, you can go back to another contact that we did that did feel right, or you can just pause and listen. And be here right now as we're doing this together. And maybe as you're feeling your forehead and the front of your face being held by your palms, also noticing your feet on the ground or your pelvis and thighs in the seat. Feeling how gravity is supporting you in a few ways. As we give our system a chance to rest if it needs to rest, or to be supported if it needs support. And then when you're ready, you can really slowly let this contact go. And if you have your elbows supported on the desk in front of you, you may want to keep your hands on your forehead and let them gently support your head and neck and your body as you come upright before you let the contact go. And now I'll invite you, just like we did at the beginning, to check in with yourself and your system, to notice how you are showing up in this present moment right now. Pausing to notice what we notice right now, mentally, physically, emotionally, otherwise. Noticing if it's different than what showed up before, with compassion, without judgment as much as possible. And if it feels easy to name whatever it is we're noticing. And if you're here with me live and you feel like sharing in the chat what it is you're noticing, then I invite you to do that. And I see here that someone's wanting to ask a question. I'd be happy to answer a question after we close this one piece of checking in, but I'll stay on just for a minute and happy to answer when we're done recording. So noticing and naming right now, words or a phrase that's dropping in. I'm feeling very nourished by self right now. Beautiful. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're very welcome. The word that comes up for me when I notice a name for myself right now is smooth. And that's kind of been a theme for me lately. Recently, when I've been doing somatic practice, of regardless of what I'm showing up with, there's something that happens afterwards that leaves me with a felt sense of just being smoother, not like everything's perfectly calm or clear, but like a little less rough, a little less chaotic, busy, edgy. I see I'm much more focused. Nice. Yeah, so if anything about your present moment experience that you're noticing now feels good or pleasant, you can see what it's like to rest into that, even for a few moments. Definitely feeling some shifts away from urgency and towards subtleness. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, as we're supporting our nervous system and shifting, we do that in small amounts. And then another thing we do is to rest into what's good, right? To reinforce for our system that this is a path to safety, right? This is what I'm capable of, even if it's just for a few minutes, right? As we do this, as we find goodness for a few moments or a few minutes, then those moments can get longer. Yeah, as our nervous system learns that way. Wonderful. So we're going to close for today. I'm so appreciative of all of you that are showing up now. Appreciative of everyone who is watching the recording when this comes out. I'll send it out later on this afternoon. Like I said, we do this on the first and the third Thursday of the month, which means the next time we'll meet won't be until October. I can't remember what the date is, but I'll put it in the email. And you're welcome to reach out to me at any time with any questions or curiosities. but this replay will stay active until our next live class. All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to stay on for a minute if you're here with me live, but you're free to go. You're free to go anytime, but you can. We're done for now, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks so much.